My name is Jessica Sivkumar, and this is my ServeCity Story. Before ServeCity, I had been away from the church and from God for about 7-8 years. I grew up with a Catholic mother and a Hindu father, and at the age of 8, they had both come to know God and have a relationship with Him. We started attending a church, and I grew up in church. All through my elementary school, high school, university, even into my first few years in my career, I was with God in the house of God. I served in children's ministry for about 10 years. I was very involved. I got baptized, and then slowly through church hurt, things that had happened, also seeing my parents get hurt as they were serving the Lord, it drew me away from the church, but in that process, I also left God. I tried seeking many different things to feel spiritually fulfilled. I explored astrology, tarot card reading, yoga. I tried to medicate my mental health struggles through alcohol, through weed, through other substances. And I was very against God and Christianity. And I very much tried to do everything in opposition of what I was taught in church. So what led me to ServeCity? Well, one of my friends, Casey, I met her while I was away from God. And one thing I was drawn to about her is that she was doing social service work, which is now the work that I do. In 2021, a friend of hers invited her to church, and Jesus snatched her up. And when that happened, the Holy Spirit in her irritated many things in me. At that time, I believe she was brainwashed and brought to Jesus. And throughout that process, I started to separate myself from her. I still had Christian parents. I still had many Christian friends. And although I didn't know it at that time, they were all praying for me. They were all interceding and asking God to bring me back to Him. So in the summer of 2024, I was on a cottage trip with 3 of my friends that knew me in what I call my first phase with Jesus. And they had asked me, "Just, do you really not believe in God?" And I said to them, "I'm jealous that you do. I wish I did, because I remember how it felt when I did believe, and I did, like, I don't believe, but I wish I did." And one of my friends said, "Just, why don't you just ask Jesus if He's real, and if He's real, show Himself to you." So that night when we went to bed, I didn't tell any of them, and I felt quite silly and a little meek asking, but I said, "Jesus, if you're real, show yourself to me." And that month of August in 2024, it was sign after sign after sign, and he showed me that He was real. And it took a couple of months. And in December, I had met a childhood friend's father who was a pastor, and he said to me, "Jesus is a gentleman. He is not going to barge His way into your life. He has shown you that He is real, that He is true. He wants a relationship with you. So now you have to decide to make a decision. You have to commit, and you have to surrender your life back to Him." So in December of 2024, I was all in. And I began to search for a home church. For 3 months, I had explored. I had gone to different churches. I was what you called a church hopper, just trying to find home. And my friend Casey, I had texted her during Christmas. I wished her a Merry Christmas, and I told her I had returned home to God. And she had invited me to her church. I had come to ServeCity, before. I had come for her baptism, and I remember her baptism in 2022 when I came, and I was well into what I call my phase away from God. So I had my first phase with Jesus, and then I had my phase away from God. So when I came in and I saw her, I was here for her baptism, the presence of God was so heavy in this place. I had to physically walk out of the space, and I just, I said afterwards, I was like, this church is way too much for me. And when I came back in March, she had invited me in December. It took me until the beginning of March of 2025 to come in. I came in, and I knew immediately that this was home. That first day, I came to the altar and I wept and I wept and I wept. I had joined a life group that first day. I signed up for Next Steps right away, and I was already back to reading my Bible. I was already back to praying and being with God. So when I came to church, it was the beginning of Lent, and that whole period, I just continuously just wept and repented for the things that I did. I began to throw out many of the things from my past. I threw out all of my astrology notes and astrology books. I had cut up my tarot deck cards. I had thrown away my drug paraphernalia, all the pictures, all the things related to yoga and Hinduism that I tried so hard to get into, so many of my crystals. That whole period of Lent was just purging and releasing. And every week we say the Lord's Prayer here at ServeCity, and the last part is, Lord, deliver me from all evil. And that's what it felt like. It was just continuously delivering me from all evil. And I had finished Next Steps. There was a Connect Sunday where they were sharing different teams and ministry teams in the church. And I remember Deacon Corinne, she had asked me, she's like, are you part of a team? And I said, no, I'm not. And she said, have you finished Next Steps? I said, yeah, I finished Next Steps. So she said, then what are you waiting for? Why aren't you part of a team? And I became very emotional, and I started crying to her and her team. And I said, I'm not good enough to be part of a team. I'm so messed up. And her and her team, they comforted me, and they said, what we hear every Sunday is that there are no perfect people allowed. So I had joined kids ministry, and I served for the first time in kids ministry on Mother's Day, which was so special to me because my mom had been interceding for me that whole time I was away from God. And it was the best Mother's Day gift that I could give her. She was so happy, and I haven't stopped since. I love ServeCity because there are no perfect people allowed. That the presence of God is so heavy in this place. I'm reminded of a verse from Psalm 16:11, and it says, in the presence of the Lord, there is fullness of joy. Many times I've heard it said here that the church is a hospital. It is somewhere that if somebody comes for the first time, never walking into church, or if they were like me and they had come to church and left, they know exactly what's going on. Everything is clearly explained. It is for everybody, whether it's your first time here or you've been to church your whole life. It's a place where you can connect. It's where you will form friendships, where you can begin to serve and really experience God in deeper ways. For me, kids ministry is special because I grew up in the church. I'm reminded of the verse in Proverbs 22:6, where it says, train up a child in the way that they will go, and when they are old, they will never depart. So what I would tell someone who has experienced church hurt, who grew up in the church, who was connected and felt the presence of God, and then left it for whatever reason, there are no perfect people allowed. It reminds me of the Song of Moses in Deuteronomy 32. And it says in verse 4, the rock, his work is perfect, for all his ways are justice, a God of faithfulness and without iniquity, just and upright is he. And there is no perfect people. There's no perfect church, but we serve a perfect God. So don't let church hurt. Don't let people who said that they're servants of God or believers of God that have hurt you, don't let that be the reason that you stay away from church, because there are no perfect people. but our God is a perfect God.